Hi, I'm Jay, and in this video I'm going to be talking about my camera equipment that I use for wildlife photography. Let's get into the video. The camera I use is a Canon 1300D, a basic entry-level DSLR. It has several shooting modes such as manual, aperture priority, landscape, etc. It also has a pop-up flash with a hot shoe for using an external flash should you wish. The camera has a 9-point autofocus system and can shoot in both JPEG and RAW. It has several menus with options such as white balance, metering modes, and photo filters, among others. Picture quality is 18.1 megapixels, it has an APS-C sensor, and the ISO ranges from 100 to 12,800. The camera has both a viewfinder and a back screen to use for framing and taking photos, with various on-screen data displays for both to help with taking photos. It also has a Wi-Fi option, although I've never used it. Video quality is good, shooting in full HD at 24 frames per second, which gives the footage that film look. Although I don't use this camera for filming, but that's for another video. This footage was shot using the 18 to 55mm kit lens that came with the camera, while these two clips were shot with my Canon EF 100mm macro lens. This macro lens has a widest aperture of f2.8, which gives images great bokeh due to the shallow depth of field. It doesn't have image stabilization, which can be a problem in low light. But as these images show, it's a good lens for photographing things like creepy crawlies, flowers, and other small subjects. The other two lenses I use for wildlife photography fall into the telephoto category. The first is this Canon EFS 55 to 250mm STM lens. It has image stabilization and a widest aperture of f4 at a focal length of 55mm and f5.6 at 250mm. Being a 250mm lens, I did have to get closer to my subjects than with lenses with a longer focal length. But I was very happy with the images I did manage to get when I got the opportunity. However, I rarely use this now as I've got a 500mm lens. The 500mm lens in question is the Sigma 50 to 500mm lens, nicknamed the Bigma. This lens does not have image stabilization, so using a tripod or monopod is recommended as it is a little bit heavy. The zoom on this is great as expected for a 500mm lens, making it easier to photograph subjects from a distance without spooking them. I love the results I've had with this lens. The only problem I find is shooting in low light with a high ISO. But the software I use to edit my photos helps improve the quality of those high ISO images. Speaking of which, onto the photo editing software that I use. I use Aperture Pro for tweaking photos until I'm happy with how they look. I don't use presets like I've read some other photographers use. I like to work on each image individually. I also use this software for editing out unwanted things in my photos using things like the scratch removal option. Like this stick holding the dart in place. Much easier to do this and edit the stick out than trying to time taking the picture while throwing the dart near the camera. It's safer for my camera too. I've also been using Aperture Pro to try and restore some of my mum's old photos to a better condition. The other program I use is GIMP. I also use this to tweak photos like in Aperture Pro, but I mainly use GIMP for my more creative efforts, like changing the seasons of an image, double exposures, or making the Yorkshire coast look like a scene from the 1959 film Journey to the Centre of the Earth. I've also tried my hand at a Cottingley Fairies type photo with my daughter, and a Land of the Giants photo with my son. Doesn't he look pleased to be helping out his dad? I also use it for basic graphic design for stuff like characters for board games I make, or making a deck of playing cards using my wildlife photography, complete with the logo I made using my channel avatar image as a reference.
So there you go, that's what I use for my wildlife photography, from the camera to the various lenses and the software I use to edit my photos. It's not the most high-end equipment, but I'm more than happy with the results, and I just enjoy the process of being out in nature doing some wildlife photography. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, ciao for now.